knew how to do before you even met me, like, I bet you could have figured out the pie chart with number 3 without me, without having known me and known a little bit about stats. No, I'm just saying. Like, some of them are so cool ones about stats that they're kind of common sensey ones, and you can figure them out. Ones we need to review are.
I have another question.
I have another answer.
Why is the period table 1 and 4 lose a point?
Because they left stuff out. I don't need points down. Maybe I should.
You should. I don't want to.
I don't.
I don't think you would appreciate points in here. It would be like you answered somewhat incorrectly, therefore no points for you. Like, I don't know. I get really serious with my points. I don't think you want me to do points. It would take up too much of our time. I know you would. Okay, so I need to go over number 4 on Math Workshop 1. The answer is D, but we need to talk about how. Because we did not do a good job. Miss Compton did not, because I was in a hurry. I'm always in a hurry, because there's so many things I think we need to learn in stats. About talking about marginal and conditional distribution. So if you're still confused after today, that's what I would recommend you read about in your textbook. Yesterday, I know there's another problem in here that says something about an OGIV, and I mentioned it, we wrote it down in the notes, but I didn't go into it. So if there's something we don't talk about and you're probably supposed to know, you can look in your textbook. Please, somebody read it. Google, yeah, and we're going to look at Google today. That's another thing we're going to look at. Okay, so the proportion of males that are registered as Democrats. So the total of Democrats is what? How many people are registered as Democrats?
900.
900, because 300 and 600 is 900. And then, so what is 300, because there's 300 males, divided by 900?
Yeah, 0.3.
And you get 1/3, which ends up being 0.3.
Yeah.
It's 0.33, so I think it should be C. So my key is incorrect. It should be C. Yes, dear, what have I done wrong?
Number 6 that you were doing.
Wait, I thought it was asking about all of them.
Yeah.
Oh, it's asking for that are registered. Okay. Don't you hate it when you do that? Thank you, dear. Bless you. I hate it when I read things wrong. Okay, this company needs to read. Males that are registered as Democrats means I need to consider how many males there are total. So the total of males is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10,000 total males. Out of those 10,000 total males, there are 300 that are Democratic. And then I would get the correct answer. Never doubt your key.
Should cross out the C.
And then it is definitely not C.
Struggling today?
Straight up. And I don't need to be because you need me. I don't need to be. Okay, so, and I wrote too many zeros?
So it is D.
Jeez Louise, Miss Compton.
What?
You think about him.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez Louise. The math workshop we got a long time ago. I passed it out when I passed out Linux. Do you need a copy? Here, I'll give you my ugly copy that I just scratched on. I got tons more copies. I'll pull one out. Okay. While I pull this out, I swear I can do math. Miss Compton did not read the wording well. It says specifically the proportion of males who are Democratic. Out of the males, how many are Democrats? So half the problem in AP Stats is can you read the words? And Miss Compton could not on that one because it happens to the best of us. Okay, so if you're actually paying attention, portion of males that are Democrats is indeed 300 out of the total of 1,000 boys. So it is 300 over 1,000, which is the 0.3. And then the next one says your percentage from question 3 is part of, and that was in question 3, so we have to back up to question 3. The answer to number 3 was B. I really think you can handle it on your own. And then it says the percentage of question, I can't read two things at once. Your percentage from question number 3 is part of, and then so I guess I should pay more attention because I'm not.
I think number 4.
They mean number 4.
Because it has nothing to do with number 3.
It has nothing to do with number 3 at all. That's what I was confused about. I thought number 3 was about colors. of the oak. It is. It should say number 4. So there's a typo. And is this marginal or is it conditional? And again, Ms. Compton has not done a good job of explaining that. This is technically conditional, so number 5 is supposed to be D. Marginal, we're going to get like percentages or like point, but they won't actually be like, it won't say 70%, it would say 0.7. That's what you and I converted it to, yes, but what was it given as? What it was given as the pretty cool numbers. And Ms. Compton stinks. I have dropped the ball, marginal, conditional. In my mind, I know it's something really important we hit later, so I was like, shh, I can skip over it right now. Clearly bad choice since it's in the math workshop. My bad. Okay, we can pretend it's not my first time to teach AP stats, but it is. So, just as new as you are. I actually have had stats classes there, if that counts or anything. Okay, the proportion of registered Democrats that are male. Now Ms. Compton can add up all the Democrats. 300, 600. There are 900 total Democrats. So there are 300 male Democrats out of the 900 total Democrats. And that's how you get the 0.33, which is C. Bless you, Jared, for fixing me.
Gnarly.
And again, we're still talking conditional distribution, but we're specifically wanting to know about the gender among the Democrats. So it's C. Okay, I think those are the only ones I've fully dropped the ball on. And again, I apologize, and I don't think I've done a sufficient job now. My recommendation to you is to make a note. You need to read up on conditional marginal distributions. They're not a big deal. They're easy to read. We're out of time in life. Got to move on. Okay, were there any questions from, so that's about the end of the Math Workshop 1. Were there any questions from Math Workshop 2?
Did you say number 8?
Maybe number 3.
Wait, how? On the first one, do we do all of them?
Yes. And you had a question on number 8 of Math Workshop 1, ma'am, Olivia? Okay, let's look at Math Workshop number 1. Math Workshop 1, number 8. It says, which of the following graphs accurately represents the distribution for political party registration for each gender? So if we're looking back at that top, with that chart at number 4, that's what we're going to have to reference. And it says that, if I'm looking at that chart, the most males were Republicans. So I need the Republican dash to be the biggest. And the Republican section is definitely not the biggest on A, so I know it's not A. Again, I know this is silly, but the Republican piece has to be the biggest. So that's why I got rid of A. I can get rid of B. Yes, dear.
I'm just saying,
Okay.
why are you getting...
I'm using the numbers from above, the 300, 500, 200, the 600, 300, and 100. I'm trying to pick which graph accurately depicts that information. Good Lord, words. And the answer ends up being E because, well, I know these two match exactly, so it looks like there are 200 other and 100 other, but why would they be at the exact same line then? So it's not D. And then C is a little disproportional because if there are 600 Democrats, 300 Republicans, and 100 others with the females, there are still a lot of Democrats, yet we made them super tiny, and we made it look like the way over majority is Republicans. So that's why it's not that one. And the same logic eliminates B. So again, we're just trying to figure out which graph accurately depicts that chart at the top. Okay, Batman asked the question on the Math Workshop number 2. What problem did you say? Did you say 3? Okay, Math Workshop number 2, problem number 3. The answer is supposed to be C. The problem says, one way economists measure the health of the residents by counting housing starts and the number of permits issued for constructions. Below is a graph displaying housing starts in thousands in the U.S.
Why is that a weakness, though?
Okay, so I'm just looking through the answer choices, and
I feel like B would be a better answer.
the principal weakness of this graphical presentation of data.
Is that there's no houses that small? And no houses that-
Okay, so then we have to ask ourselves, because I know one answer choice we can automatically eliminate, is this information, when we're comparing that housing starts, is that categorical or quantitative?
Kind of quantitative.
And we got numbers, so it's quantitative. So I know that it has to be a pie chart. That's not necessarily true. So I know D's out. I don't think the label on the vertical scale is confusing and misleading. It could be if they did different gaps, but I mean they did it straightforward, so I don't see how it's that one. And then so I'm down to B, C, and E. E says it is unclear which dimension of the house represents the number of housing starts for that year.
It clearly says housing starts with Y-axis, so it's definitely not E.
So it's definitely not E.
Yeah.
And then so, I mean, because they say which housing starts it is. And then, so we're down to B and C, and I get where Louise is coming from, because I do get B, that the data only shows, 4 years is not enough to predict a trend. I completely agree with that. However, we gotta admit, they didn't use normal bars, like a normal bar graph, and don't you think, and that's what my friend who is playing on his phone during our review, because he has test on Monday, good luck with your life, he commented on the fact that the houses weren't all equally dimensionable, and I think that would be my biggest issue.
Even the proportions, though.
Are they? Because it looks like,
Yeah,
They're in
the
proportion with each other.
Yeah,
fourth image looks
But-
stretched.
in my mind, we talked about how class widths have to be the same regardless. So in my mind, 06 is this wide, and then we go down to 09 and it's not as wide. So them making it less wide makes it look even further less important. So that's my issue, is the width of the bin. That's my argument. And the only reason I knew to pick that one as opposed to Louise's option of B is because I knew something was screwy since they were using weirdo houses instead of using normal bars. Like, they're trying to be cute. Something's probably wrong with it. There's one in your textbook that you were assigned where they're trying to be cute and they did stuff with cars. Same sort of issue of it. You can skew it and make it look like this one's super important and that one's C. And really, like, that one's almost to 500. That one's not even to 2,000. They're not that different. Yes, dear.
Is this still technically a bar graph?
Yes, because it's, why is it a bar graph, not a histogram?
Is that
They're not touching.
I don't know if there's another name for people
Sigmogram?
Oh, I understand. So we want to like give it a different name. I still would call it a bar graph, but that's a good question. I don't actually know the answer to that. Is it called a pictogram? Does it say that?
Yeah, I think it's.
Does it say? I mean, it would make sense. Pictogram. So it's like a histogram, but pictogram. But if it was a histogram, there shouldn't be any gaps. So I don't understand the gaps. So I'm
Yeah,
confused.
Proportionally sized pictograms that they're referring to images.
So that makes me confused. Okay, I got like one with nothing out and two on their phones. Y'all know you have a test on Monday regardless of your life,
I
right?
don't think it's in
No, you were doing good, Sally.
It's at you, Sally.
I'm just gonna include you so I don't get accused of attacking others. Okay, if there are no questions on the math workshop, I know there are some of you I'm not gonna see tomorrow. The rest of you that I do see, any questions on the math workshop are vain. If I don't see your face and you still have a question, you can email me. I'll respond, or you could ask it on Google Classroom. That way everyone else can see and we can talk about it through that. As long as you're not coming in during 7th period asking me a question, I'll answer any question you want until, 7 starts at 2:13, until 2:13 on Monday, and I can answer any question you need, especially when it's doing multiple choice questions. Yes, ma'am.
So this test is going to be on everything we've learned so far, as far as like cuss and everything, box,
Yes, yes.
in the workshops.
Yes. So it's going to have everything. It's going to have the mean, median, mode. It's going to have the 5-number summary. It's going to have box plots. In a lot of ways, it reminds me of a quiz. In fact, that's one of the things I wanted to do today is kind of look at it really fast. Where did you go? I also want to go over some crappies, just so you know what a crappie looks like. I'm posting, and I'll hand out to those trustees tomorrow, some other sample crappies, just so you can see how other people write their responses. After glancing through most people's quizzes, you're not bad with your words. Most people are, but some are. So just so you know. Yes, dear.
Why wouldn't we see some of us tomorrow?
I don't know what time the pep rally starts and all that jazz. You know how some band people get to leave early and like that is what it is. Okay. For the test on Monday, there are 8 multiple choice questions. The first one asks you to read a stem plot and then relate it to a box plot. The second one asks you to interpret a bar graph. The third one asks you, it tells you some values, and then they ask, like, should you pick the median, or the mean and the median the same? So they really ask, like, based on these values, is it skewed left, skewed right, symmetric? That way you can make those kind of decisions. The fourth question asks you about standard deviation. The fifth multiple choice question asks you to talk about the classes in a histogram specifically relating to the third quartile, which is, you know what that is. Okay. 6, 7, and 8 are all about interpreting a bar graph. And she asked a really good question, because if you don't know how to read that Democratic Republic one on number 8 of the math workshop, it's one really similar to that, with them stacked on top of each other. So that was a really good question, and you had no idea.
Okay, but it's going to be by pattern, right?
Say what?
They're going to be separated by pattern, right?
Yes. In fact, they're like, yes. I suck because I'm putting it on the screen, but yes.
I just want to be sure.
Yes. Yeah, no, there's like a dot one, and then a stripe one, and then a solid one. Yes, I knew that. I had that in mind. Okay, and then so there are 8 multiple choice questions. Yes, ma'am.
How hard do we know if it's a study?
If I were you, because it's your first one and you don't know how hard I'm going to grade, I would make sure I know all the things. Let me tell you about the free response. So I'm pretty sure. See, the multiple choice is going to be a problem because Olivia guesses. She guesses wrong. There's all her points. I mean, it's hard to, unless she's showing some work, it's hard for me to get points for that. The free response, there are 2 of those. I'm going to give you, I swear it would take most of class on Monday to do the free response. The first one gives you a whole bunch of information, and they tell you about 2 different distributions, and they ask you to comment on similarities and differences, so they want you to cuss. And then they say, like, which one is better than the other, and you have to justify your choice. And then the second question gives you some information, asks you to draw a box plot, and then you have to justify, like, which one you're going to choose and why. So again, it's all cussing, 5-number summary, box plot, normal stuff. With knowing, but like I said, there is a standard deviation on this one. Yes, dear.
I'm still confused on like the last S, like the spread. So how to word and like how to talk through that.
Don't actually say the word spread. I would just mention either the interquartile range or the IQRR. Just mention the range, but don't. Range we talked about is resistant. It depends on if there are outliers. So always go with the IQR because it's always getting that middle 50% in
So
life.
that whole thing confuses me. Like what you like. So you go with the IQR
Because even if it's skewed left or right, the IQR is that middle 50%. So that the tail ends that were bringing it down aren't going to bother that middle 50%. Okay. Yes, dear.
Also, if you grade enough to do.
Haven't graded, have read through. No one is making me super concerned. We'll be graded by tomorrow.
There's nothing else.
Yes, if they're not already.
It's still recording.
Yes, ma'am. I just didn't stop.
Okay, did anyone pick these up already? Great.
Okay, I gave you a chapter 1 study guide. It's not a set grade. I'm going to post the key to it. I'm going to overwhelm you with information. Not intentional. Just want to make sure you're prepared. So I'm going to post the key to the rest of the math workshop. I'm going to post the key to the study guide. I'm not going to select or grade the math workshop or the study guide. The only thing I'm going to grade on Monday is, has Louise done the textbook homework problems that I assigned to him? And if Louise has done more than the ones I assigned, I'm going to give him bonus for that. Okay? Which sounds delightful, but again, this is your first test. I'm not a nice grader, as if you've been working on your projects, you can tell. I'm not a nice grader. Yes, dear.
We're 1 short.
Oh, perfect. Here it is.
Too short. You need one.
I heard one already. I don't think it's last. I think about myself only.
Okay. I got distracted. Say words.
Can we go over the project, like what you're expecting, like how we're supposed to do it? Because I just don't understand. Like,
Yeah, I think I'm going to change the due date to Wednesday, so we can cover that on Tuesday if you want it, because I really wanted to make sure you're prepared for the test. But if that will make you feel better,
How come I understand, is it supposed to be like a poster or like?
it does not have to be at all. It can just be on a piece of paper. When I know it says project, but really it's just like a homework assignment. I just want you to take it seriously. You don't have to make it funny. No, you've got enough other stuff I need you to learn at the same time. In other classes, I worry about being pretty, not in here. Here, let me change the date. Okay, so Louise got to the part, he already said something that's smart, he didn't even know it, and well, I mean, he probably does, but I wanted to show you of this. So we're going to talk about what answers how I would word my answer on a free response problem. Again, there are 2 free response problems on your test on Monday. And here's why we tend to do them in class, because you can Google the mess out of this. So after you leave me today, if you don't like my response, or you think there's something more eloquent you could write, which is probably true, you can go home and Google it. So for instance, I Googled number 1, didn't really have a good Google, but number 2, I have a good link for it that I found. Number 3, I have a good link for it that I found. And then I found some extra practice ones where they explain themselves. So I'm going to post the link to all 3 of those so you don't have to be the expert Googler. I was for you. But just so you know, Google is your friend. Okay. So on the free response questions, I know in class we've had to type in large data sets, but in real life we don't have time for you to type in all this. No way on the real AP exam are they going to expect you to input this many data points, because Kenzie can make a mistake and she cannot type something in right and then it's over. So no way you have to input that. So they're going to give you all you need. It's just you interpreting it. So if we read the problem, it says, how much oil wells in a given field will ultimately produce is key information in deciding whether to drill more wells. Here is the raw data, along with the descriptive statistics of the estimated total amounts of oil received from 64 different wells in the Devonian Richmond Dolomite area of the Michigan Basin, and thousands of barrels, which sounds deep. And then we get to our question, and it says, use the information provided to describe the important features of the distribution. What does that mean we need to do?
Cuss.
Describe, and the distribution immediately tells me I need to cuss. It says, use the graphical and numerical representations in your description. So if it says use graphical, what kind of graphical can you and I make easily and quickly?
Box plot.
It would be fastest for us to make a box plot. Why can we make a box plot so quickly?
Because we have the minimum, Q1, median.
We've got that 5-number summary. 5-number summary. So if I'm going to make a graphical representation, my min is at 2. Let's see, my max is at 204.90. My median is at 37.80. My Q1 is at 21.40. And my Q3 is at 60.75. I've added the numbers with it. I kind of made the second one a little bigger because in my mind there's a bigger gap between 37 and 60 than there is between 21 and 37. And yes, I did draw my box plot a little lower down this way because I think 37 is way closer to 2 than it is to 204. But other than that, you saw how quickly I drew this. And I swear it's sufficient. That's all. For the graphical representation that we need. Now we just have to literally cuss. So we could describe the center, the important features of this distribution. Is the mean, what's the relationship between the mean and the median in this specific case?
The median is smaller.
The median is lower, so the mean is larger than the median. So does that mean our graph is skewed left or skewed right?
Skewed right.
So I already kind of know. Plus, I kind of knew it from my box plot anyway of how it had that major tail over there. So I already knew my graph was going to be skewed right. No.
What is the difference between mean and median? Like, I just keep
Median is the middle of our data plots. Like the very middle. Like if we had 15, we would count to the very center, and that 8 point would be it, no matter what. Whereas mean, we would add all 15 up, divide by 15, and get that number. And mean is bad because if we're adding all 15 up and we have a really big 15th term, it's going to really affect it. Okay, so I've written some little side notes to myself. I still have to use words. So I need to cuss. So I could say the center of this distribution, and then I'm being way too technical, is best interpreted with the median because the median, and then it even said in the problem, use numerical representation, so I need to actually reference the number with the median of 37.80.
But it's in thousands.
So I should put of 37,800. That better?
What?
If only I did. That's not right.
Definitely, yeah.
That's too big.
That's just a couple digits off.
There we go. Lord Jesus. Math. Words I could do. Math was not happening today. It's just not my math day. It happens. Okay, the center of this distribution is best interpreted with the median, and then I needed to add in, because I wasn't thinking, I need to add in the numbers. And the only reason I know to add in the numbers is because it specifically says to reference the numerical representation. So I need to reference the numbers. It told me to. Is best interpreted with the median because the graph is skewed right.
Did you put 37,000?
Yes. Is that wrong still?
I don't know. Wait, why
It's in thousands of barrels. So 37.8 is actually 37,800. I'm being super blind today. Okay, so then since I am being super blind, I have to talk to myself. So I started off with the C of cussing. I know I've done the C, but I've technically already hit another letter as well. What letter is that? I've already hit shape because I said skewed right. Now, would it help for me to explain why I know it's skewed right? Maybe, but don't you think I'm kind of showing it skewed right with my graphical representation anyway? So we're going to let that go. Are there any unusual features? Are there any unusual features?
The max being like ginormous.
So since the max is ginormous, as we put it, what do we assume about that max?
It's an outlier.
So what is our test for outliers?
Q3 minus Q1, get the IQR 1.
Okay, so let's get that IQR. We needed the IQR anyway if we're going to talk about spread. So 60.75 minus 21.40, and in real life I wouldn't put this on my paper, but I'm putting this for you so you know what on earth I'm doing. And you get what? Say words out loud. 30.39?
39.35.
Okay, that sounds good. So he's found that IQR. And then we had a formula for outliers. What's the formula when we want to know the top? So let's do Q3 plus 1.5 times that IQR. So 60.75 plus 1.5 times 39.35. What'd you get?
public health.
So 1 with math. I got 119.78.
There you go.
Okay, so I've got this value. So anything above this value is going to be an outlier. So do I have an outlier?
Yes.
Absolutely. Do I have more than one outlier?
Yes.
Yes, I probably need to check back through my data and see. So do we actually see where are the other numbers you're telling me are too high?
There's 156.5.
They're the 196. Where's the 156? There it is. Are there any others?
196.0.
I got that one. I got 3 of them. Yeah, we knew the 204 was going to be one. Sorry. We knew the 204 was going to be one. We just weren't sure if there were others. And it actually turns out there are 3 outliers. So if we could go back in time and draw a modified box plot, we would put those 3 outliers on the ends. But we're seriously fine right now because we're explaining, hey, P.S., we found out there are 3 after our calculus. Would it be smart of us? It's not a bad idea. We're assuming there's not one. I'm being a smarty pants and assuming there's not one because I know my graph is skewed right, but does it hurt to check? No. So let's do it. I'm just going to do it on my calculator and see. I'm not actually going to write anything down. So it's 40. Geez, Louise, Miss Compton. It is 21.40 minus 1.5 times 39.35. No, we get a negative number and we don't have any negative values, so it's not going to happen. Okay, so far with my cussing, I've got my C, I've got one of the S's. As for the unusual features, I could say something like the graph is, and then I could further explain why the graph is skewed right. Skewed right because there are 3 outliers. And then would I normally be this facetious? No, but again, this specific problem said use numerical representation. So in my mind, I want to be very specific. Since, and then I'm going to use that number you and I found, and I'm going to say 156.5 is greater than 119.78, and I'm just going to make a list of them all. 196.0 is greater than that number, and obviously clearly 204.9 is greater than 119.78. So we've got our unusual features. And then I'm out of room, so I'd probably say something brief, and I swear on the real exam you have so much room you could die. What am I missing? So the spread, and I don't actually like to say the number spread, because when I hear spread I think of like on a sandwich. I don't think that's like, I don't like it. So I'm just going to say the IQR for this data, yes, we have to state it, is 39.345. Now, Louise is smart. Like, do we actually have to state it? Because technically we calculated it. And I'm not sure. I would probably state it anyway just to show, hey, P.S., I know that's for spread. But I tend to say too many words. And if there's one thing I learned from my AP training is that the more words you say, the stupider you start sounding. You say too many words and you start to sound stupid. Yes, first one.
Does it matter if we do it in thousands or decimals?
It shouldn't matter if you said 37.8 as long as you said somewhere in the problem, comma, in thousands of barrels. Is it important for you to recognize that part? Yes. You have to change your numbers? No. You could just say somewhere in your words in thousands of barrels. I'm not saying I'm the best with words. I'm not the best with words. I just use words and I put them up there and I've done all the things. Could someone have written this more eloquently? Hell yeah. Yeah.
You're recording.
You're recording. Yeah. All the bad words, yeah.
You know, really.
Yeah. I mean, it said cuss, so, you know.
You're just following instructions.
I'm just following instructions.
Right.
Okay. And like I said, you just see me write all the time. So tomorrow, and I'm going to post on Google Classroom for those You're up. For some reason, I don't see you, Mara. I should see you for a few minutes. Anyway, I'm going to hand you someone else's words. That way, maybe they sound smarter or something. Okay, so number 2, and I apologize for this. Every single stats problem is going to have a giant long scenario. So we're talking about some oaks in the United States. 28 are growing on the Atlantic. 11 are growing in California. Interest in the distribution of acorn size among oak species. Why are we interested in this? Who knows? Here's the data on the volume of acorns in cubic centimeters for these 39 oak species. Terrific. Can we compare the Atlantic and California regional distributions of acorn sizes with a graph and numerical summaries? And then they even tell us to cuss. They say shape, center, spread of the distribution. What did you find? Yes, dear.
So going back to the last problem.
Yes.
Should we be like answering? I'm pretty sure it's asking like how many oil wells on average will you feel produced. Should we be like trying to answer that, or just give the information like straight up?
Louise is a genius, as we all know. So Miss Compton is very literal, and at the moment when it says cuss, I cuss. Louise is wanting to take our cussing information and relate it back in terms of the problem and actually and we should. So remember when we wrote our little cuss handout on unusual features? Didn't we say it would be smart of us to actually say this is an unusual feature and relate it back in terms of the problem? So if I could go back in life and add more room and use more words, I would probably try to hypothesize why those 3 outliers exist in relation to the oil wells. Yes, dear. You have to, they want you to, and this is what I've not done well in that problem, they want you to relate it back to the given information. Me, I stick with numbers. I'm a number person, but he's correct. It would be good. I mean, I didn't say anything about oil. I didn't say anything about fields. That's something, so if we were ranking my problem, and they're worth 4 points, and then we would give me a 3 at best, and I'm the teacher, so yay, at best. So could we definitely improve this and reference it back to oil wells? All the bad words, yeah. This is what happens when you have math at the end of the day and Miss Compton tries to rush. Just FYI. I swear I made a 33 on my ACT. I'm not stupid, but maybe I am. Okay. I feel stupid. Okay, so we want to cuss again, and I swear we'll just cuss all the time. They want us to compare them, though, with a graph and numerical summaries. What would be the easiest graph we can make with these?
I guess box plot.
I like a box plot, but that requires us to actually type in the information. Do we even want to do that? Are we that excited about that? That's what I was thinking. I was thinking a stem plot because I could do it and I could compare them side by side. So if you do a stem plot, what we didn't discuss was that they can actually share a stem. So in the middle, I could put, are some of them zeros? Yes, 0, 1, 2. Do they go any higher than 6? They go to 10. Miss Compton's out of room. Just humor me. I'm out of room, so humor me. And so we could say Atlantic goes over here, and we could say California goes over here. And so 4.1, we could do 4.1. And 5.9, we could do 5.9. And 2.6, we could do 2.6. We could do that. But clearly, Miss Compton's needs to be longer. We would need more paper. Miss Compton's needs today. We got it. There's an overall trend. Miss Compton's got to get it together. Got it. Duly noted. But we could also do it the other way, which looks weird, and I don't like it, but they think it's cool. So 1.4 would be 1, and then the 4 on the wrong side. So we're reading it right to left. And then 3.4, we could do it like this.
What?
And 1.6, we could do it like this. And 2.5, we could do it like this. Now, you're like me, and that looks ugly, and I don't like it. Agreed. But that is possible. So I forgot to say you could do 2 stem plots at the same time. Me, I would do 2 separate stem plots. But then I think Louise is right. She's right in that stem plot would probably be easiest. He's right in my go-to thing every single time is a box plot. I would type in the data points into my calculator and make a box plot.
It would be 2 separate box plots for 2 different things.
Yes. So if we did this and we make 2 separate box plots, and now I'm just straight up cheating.
Because, if you made the stem plot, how would you find the center of the shape and the spread and distance?
Well,
the spread, yeah.
The spread would work And we could tell the shape as well, because you can tell when you add your little on top, you can say like, oh, it's skewed left, it's skewed right.
But how could you tell outlier or spread, even though RQR, the center would be just kind of a guess?
It would be, I mean, really all that would kind of be a guess. I don't think anything's as reliable as box plot, but does that make me a chicken that I always get to the box plot? I don't know. Again, Miss Compton is a cheater. We'll just have to accept it. Life is what it is. So they made this dual stem plot so they could compare the data. And yes, because it's really, really skewed one way, they said it was skewed right. And this other data was skewed right as well. No, this skewed to the left, and then this was skewed right. And then I just can't read it sideways. Okay, so Miss Compton's out of time. I'm going to post their key. I think their numbers are technically a little bit different, but she uses good words. Yes, dear.
Wouldn't they both be skewed right because the numbers aren't increasing?
Yes, they are both skewed right. I just can't read sideways. Like, I don't know who can read that when it's sideways. I don't like it. I don't like it. I wouldn't do it. But that's my personal interpretation. When I Googled the mess out of it, everyone else did this dual stem plot. They'd be crazy. Okay. So, again, they're cussing, but they do a better job of actually relating it to, did you say the word Atlantic? Did you say the word California? And relating it between the two. And you can say one has a better center than the other, or like a higher center than the other. And then the last but not least one is my favorite one, so flip to the back. They give you the 5-number summary. They tell you the 5 numbers. And they ask you for the range. So surely you know that's 46 minus 16. This one says spread of the data. I know it's a different question. But surely you know range is 46 minus 16 and you get 30 for A. And then from then on out, I believe the questions are about the same. And I swear if you can't do number 3, I don't really know what I've been doing with my life with you lately. So number 3, put a star by it. For sure you can handle that one on your own and you don't need me. Louise is right and I suck and I need to use more words that incorporate the terms of the problem. When I went to training, because let's face it, I may have had stats before, but I've never actually